Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir.
So today we continue our topic natural resources. Earlier we have taken two classes of this topic natural resources. In that topics we have studied about our biosphere, how our biosphere work, what factor decides where the life will takes place in any kind of environment. We have seen that three major factors are important for the life: atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. When these three merge together, it form biosphere, and in biosphere we have two types of components found: biotic component and abiotic components. Biotic components are those components which are living thing found in the nature, and abiotic components are those components which are non-living thing found in the nature. Okay. Afterwards, we have studied about the atmosphere, the advantages of atmosphere, how atmosphere works. Atmosphere is not only essential for our breathing, atmosphere is also essential for the climate control. It also controls the climate. For example, if we talk about moon and earth, the temperature on the moon can be reached around minus 190 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius on moon. But we cannot see this type of temperature on the earth, because on earth we have atmosphere. There is a blanket of atmosphere. That's why we cannot see a temperature ranging between this minus 190 degrees Celsius to 110 degree Celsius. Okay. So atmosphere plays a very important role in our climate control. Okay. Then we have studied about air pollution. What is air pollution? Air pollution is sudden increase in the pollutant in the air, some undesirable content when increase in the air. It's termed as air pollution. Then we have studied about the rain, how rain formed, and then we have studied about the movement of air, that is called wind. Okay, we are starting from the next topic, that is water. Okay, this we have studied that atmosphere, biosphere, lithosphere, it makes biosphere. Okay. Then we have studied about this air, how air is essential for us. Like in air we have 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and in 1% we have other gases like carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, argon, helium, hydrogen. Okay, like carbon dioxide composed of around 0.03%. Okay. Then we have atmosphere, role of atmosphere in our climate control. Okay. Then we have the movement of air, how the air move. Okay, the movement of air is always from high pressure area to low pressure area. Like if there is high pressure area and there is low pressure area, the air will move from high pressure to low pressure. Okay, so at the daytime the movement of air will be from sea to land. Okay, and the night the movement of air will be from land to sea. Okay, the opposite. This is the way you can see here. The movement of air will be in at the daytime from sea to land, at the night time land to sea. Then about the rain, when water bodies they started heated up, it forms water vapor. Water vapors are condensed to form clouds, and when these clouds they move to another place, they form the water droplets. Water droplets are formed with the dust particles present in our atmosphere, and then we can see the rain. Okay, so this is the whole concept of rain. Next is our air pollution. Air pollution, basically we will study about air pollution with the acid rain. When we have the rain in our atmosphere, the formula for the rain water is H2O. You all know that the chemical formula for water is H2O. When this H2O combined with the other pollutants coming out from the industries like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, suppose sulfur dioxide get mixed with the water. So when sulfur dioxide get mixed with water, it forms sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4. So that rainwater now become acidic rainwater. So when the rainwater fell down on the earth in the form of acid, then we termed it as acid rain. And this acid rain is harmful for many old monuments, for the buildings, because it corrodes the buildings. Like if I give you an example of Taj Mahal, Taj Mahal is getting corroded day by day. Earlier it used to be white color, but now we can see the Taj Mahal used to be in the yellow color because of this acid rain only. All the industries present in the Agra, they produces sulfur dioxide kind of pollutions, and when these pollution get mixed with the rain, they form acid rain. Okay, so this is the whole concept of acid rain. You can see here, this is the acid rain. Smog in Beijing, smog in Los Angeles. Basically what is smog? Mixture of smoke and fog. Fog are the water particles. When they condensed, they are in our air. Okay, so when this water particles get mixed with the smoke, okay, it forms smog. Okay, so smoke plus fog is smog, and it decreases the visibility as well. Now we'll start with the water. A very large area of Earth's surface is covered with water. Water is also found inside the Earth, in the atmosphere, as well as water vapor. The water in sea and ocean is saline. Fresh water is found in river, lakes, ponds, and as ice and snow at the poles and mountains in cold region. 75% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. But that 75% of water is drinkable for us? No, we cannot drink this 75% of water. We only drink the fresh water. We can only drink the fresh water, and the quantity of this fresh water is very minimum. From 75%, 2.5% of water is only we can drink, and that drinkable fresh water is present in the underground, in the lakes, in the ponds, in the form of ice in the poles. Okay, most of the water is only saline, and that saline water is found in the oceans. Okay, we cannot drink this saline water. If we are drinking this saline water, we can have some kind of a problem, some health related diseases. Okay, water is needed by living organism because all life processes and cellular activities need water. So all organisms need water to survive. Now earlier we have studied about the air, how air is essential for us. Next, why water is essential for us? Whenever I am asking this question to the students, many students replying that water is essential for drinking. Yes, water is essential for drinking, but we have to think about out of the box also. Water is essential for all cellular activities which are present inside our body. All cellular activities which are taking place in our body is taking place in the water medium only. We have studied about osmosis in our previous chapter. Okay, so that's why water is essential for the all cellular activities. All the chemical reactions that are taking place, most of the chemical reactions are because in the dissolved form only. They are taking place in the dissolved form only. Next, circulation in our body. Blood flows in our body in the liquid form only. If we remove the plasma, that liquid part from the blood can be able to flow in our body? No, because you have studied in our previous classes that blood composed of plasma, RBC, WBC and platelets. RBC, WBC and platelets are the solid part of the blood, and plasma is the liquid part of the blood, and plasma consists of 90% of the water. So in the plasma, so if the plasma contains 90% of the water, so that's why water is important for all living things. It's not only useful for drinking, water is essential for all other things also. So whenever someone asks you the question like why water is essential, you should answer that water needs for all cellular activities. All the chemical reactions taking place are in the dissolved form. The circulation in our body takes place in the water form only. Okay, next, the amount of water and other factors like temperature and nature of soil decide the diversity of species and the number of individuals of each species in an area. Suppose I'll give you an example. I have two areas, A area and B area. Now in A area we have 5 centimeter of rainfall. And in B area we have 200 centimeter of rainfall. Tell me, in which area we can find more variety, more diversity of species, in A area or in B area? Of course in B area. Why? So water is the factor which decide the number of variety, number of diversity living in an area. Suppose I give you an example of a desert and then give you an example of a rainforest. How much more varieties of species you can find in the both, in a desert or in a rainforest? Of course in a rainforest you can find a microscopic organism and you can find a big animal in the rainforest, but you cannot find these type of diversities in the desert. Why? Because water is also essential. Water decide in which area the number of diversities or species will remain. Okay, that's why water is also important in deciding the factors that number of varieties of species in an area. So understood. When the first stage, when I'm asking the students a question, why water is important, yeah, the answer will be water is important for drinking. Now you have seen that water is important in more other ways also. Water decides the number of species living in an area also. Okay. So this is all about water. Now next, water pollution. The increase in the content of harmful substances in water is called water pollution. When air pollution, you have understood, when undesirable content they mix in the water, in the air, we termed it as air pollution. When undesirable content gets mixed in the water, it termed as water pollution. Okay. Now how water is getting polluted? Suppose the farmers, they are using insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers in their farm. So when at the time of rain, these all pesticides and insecticides, they washed away by the water, and most of the pesticides, they get mixed in the water also. Okay, so when these insecticides mixed in the water, they make the water polluted. Because you have studied about the water cycle in the oceans. When the water gets evaporated, it makes clouds. When clouds go to another area, it becomes rain, and rain again goes back in the ocean. This is the whole water cycle. Okay, but when the rain is getting polluted because of the acid rain also, because of the other insecticides, pesticides also, so basically our water is getting polluted. Okay. Next is when in the industries, all the industries, they uses water to cool their machine. Okay, to get the temperature lower in their machine, they use water. So when they use water, the water become hot. Now they take this hot water, they dump this hot water in the water bodies. Now the temperature of the water bodies is changed. Suppose if you are sitting here and the temperature increases drastically, it is very difficult for you to live in that temperature. In the same way, marine organisms also face this difficulty. Okay, if the temperature increases, marine organisms also face these type of difficulties. Okay. Next, when the content of pollutants increase in the water, it decreases the oxygen capacity of the water also. You have studied that the formula of water is H2O. How marine organisms get oxygen? From the water only. So when the pollutants increases in the water, the oxygen capacity in the water decreases, and they cannot take the oxygen. So what happens? These all organisms die. Understood? Next, water pollution is caused by addition of harmful substances like fertilizers and pesticides from farms, sewage from towns, cities and factories, harmful chemicals from factories, disease causing microorganisms, changes in the amount of oxygen dissolved in water, or changes in the temperature of water. Now soil. Our water part is completed, hydrosphere part is completed, atmosphere part is completed. Now last part we have got with lithosphere, land. All the soil which you can see right now, in the billions years ago, these soil are in the form of big rocks. There is no soil on the earth billions of years ago. There are only rocks on the earth. By some physical and biological or chemical activities, these rocks are converted into today's soil, what we can see. Okay. Now how they got converted into soil? Let's see. Soil is formed by the breaking down of rocks on the surface of earth by physical, chemical and biological processes. When these rocks are broken down by some physical, biological and chemical processes, we can see the soil. Okay. Next, so what is the process? The first process is the sun. The sun heats the rocks during the day and the rocks expand, and at night the rocks cool and contract. This causes the rocks to crack and break into smaller pieces. When suppose there is a rock and there is a sunlight continuous on that rock, So at the daytime, these rocks expands because of the heat. At the night, of course, these rocks contract. So this expansion and contraction made the cracks in the rock. Okay, when these rocks they expand in the daytime, in the night time it again contract. When this expansion and contraction, it makes some cracks on the rocks, and when it makes cracks on the rock, these big rocks they got broken down into smaller rocks. Next point, water enters the cracks in the rocks, and when water freezes, it expands and causes the cracks in the rocks to widen and breaks into smaller pieces. The flowing water carries the rock pieces. These pieces rub against each other and become smaller and smaller particles. We have a big rock. Because of the sun, it has cracks. Now water enters in these cracks and it freezes down. When this water freezes down, it widens the cracks. When the cracks are widened up, the rocks can be broken down into smaller pieces. And the water take these smaller pieces into different area, and when they rub against each other, these smaller pieces are again broken down into more smaller pieces. Okay. Next is, strong winds also breaks rocks into smaller particles and carried it from one place to another. So these smaller rocks, wind carries these smaller rocks from one place to another, and it makes these rocks more smaller. Okay. And the roots of large trees grow into the cracks in rocks and breaks it into smaller pieces. Lichens which grows on rocks produces some substances which cause the rock surface to powder and become soil. Now we have, from the big rock we have a very small rocks. Now lichens they move into these small rocks and they produce a substance which break these rocks. So at the last we have a big rock, and at the last we have a soil in the form of these big rocks. From this big rock we have the small particles of soil. Understood? Composition of soil. Soil is a mixture of rock particles, decayed organism called humus, living organism, minerals, air, water. The amount of minerals, humus, air and water are the factors which decide the biodiversity in that area. Now soil is a mixture of some minerals. Okay. Soil, we can see whenever we can see that a soil is fertile or not. Okay, how we can decide a soil is fertile or it is unfertile? Of course, it depends on the humus of the soil. Now what is the humus? Humus is the amount of decayed organism present in the soil. You all have seen what are biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. Biodegradable substances are those substances which get decomposed by the natural processes. Okay, so when these any materials they get decomposed by the natural processes, of course they started decaying.